The rain hadn't stopped for hours. It came down in sheets, fat drops ricocheting off the metallic landing pads of the neutral zone platform like tiny drumbeats. Gray clouds hung heavy above, casting the scene in a dim twilight glow, the kind that made everything feel like it belonged in an old noir film. Dr. Beatrice Vostrikoff stood alone beneath a tattered black umbrella that had probably seen action in at least 3 planetary conflicts and 1 bad date on Venus Station. Her boots clicked against the soaked steel, and her breath curled like smoke in the cold air. Not that she smoked anymore, but she still liked the illusion. Gave her presence. A thermos hung from her belt, adorned with fading stickers. Diplomacy means don't make me get up. Peace was never an option. And the ever-classic first contact this. She unscrewed the top, took a sip of the lukewarm coffee inside, and grimaced. The taste had migrated somewhere between rust and regret, but caffeine was caffeine. "Kevin, status report," she said, barely moving her lips. Floating just over her right shoulder was a small drone, matte black and full of attitude. Kevin, a former battlefield AI now repurposed for diplomatic operations, emitted a mechanical sigh. Rain levels at 97% saturation. Visibility at cinematic drama. Alien delegation is late by exactly 23 minutes and 12 seconds, which in Borthak custom is either a deep insult or a prelude to dance ritual mating. Want me to check? No. But if one of them starts gyrating, I'm taking it as hostile. Understood. She exhaled and tilted her head back, letting the cold rain strike her face. It reminded her she was still human, still sharp, still dangerous. The sound of approaching engines rumbled through the clouds, followed by a drop ship slicing through the mist and hissing steam as it touched down across from her. The side doors slid open, and out marched 6 towering figures in black and red ceremonial armor. They were lizard-like in shape, humanoid enough for formalities, but alien enough to make your instincts twitch. The central figure stepped forward, his scaled skin an iridescent purple under the cloudlight. "Overlord Krextal," Beatrice muttered, looking more like Overcompensator Krextal with that shoulder armor. The alien bowed stiffly, his translator implant clicking to life with a synthetic, nasal accent that made everything he said sound like it was being recited by an insulted librarian. "Ambassador Beatrice Vostrikoff of Terra. The Borthak Dominion recognizes your presence and extends its talons of temporary peace. Let us commence the honorable exchange of diplomatic breath." Beatrice blinked. "What does that mean? Are we sniffing each other?" Krextal stared for a beat, then let out a low hiss. "It means greetings." "Right. Well, greetings to you and your very shiny entourage." She sipped her coffee again. "I assume you read the terms. Neutral ground. No weapons. Mutual respect." The guards behind Krextal shifted. She didn't miss it. One reached for something. Too slow to be subtle, too fast to be casual. Kevin's sensors flared red in her peripheral vision. Krextal's voice slithered through the rain. "The Borthak have read the terms. We simply do not agree with them." That's going to be a problem. Beatrice's eyes swept the platform. The once empty perimeter was now slowly sealing in with troops, Borthak warriors in combat exosuits. Their weapons aimed, but not yet active. Not yet. Kevin floated lower, whispering into her earpiece. "We're surrounded. 52 armed units. Energy readings spiking. I can initiate EMP protocol, but that risks frying your espresso module. I can live without espresso. I can't live with lizard breath getting ideas." Krextal stepped closer, water cascading off his armor like a miniature waterfall. "You humans are a plague. You spread across galaxies like mold in a hydroponics lab. We offered peace before, but now we must eliminate the threat at its root." Beatrice smiled, slow and sharp. "Funny thing about roots. They tend to grow back, angrier." He raised a clawed hand. The soldiers clicked weapons into readiness. The hum of plasma chargers filled the air like a rising drumroll. "Any last words, human?" Beatrice's umbrella twitched. "Yeah, you really shouldn't have done this on a rainy day." The umbrella fell. In one motion, she kicked it forward, It exploded midair, flash blinding the nearest guards with a high-frequency strobe burst. She pivoted, ducked under a plasma bolt, and slammed a small disc onto the platform beneath her. EMP detonation. Kevin screamed in binary. All alien tech on the field flickered, buzzed, and died. Beatrice moved. Her coat flared as she twisted between the stunned guards, yanking a concealed baton from her boot and extending it with a snap. The first soldier got a blow to the knee joint, collapsing with a roar. The second tried to tackle her. She flipped him over her shoulder into Krextal, who stumbled back, tail flailing. Diplomacy lesson 1, she barked. Never corner something with nothing to lose. Kevin rebooted mid-flight, spinning wildly. Reminder, you're still technically representing Earth. I'm also technically 5 seconds from breaking this guy's jaw. A lizard guard lunged. She caught his wrist, spun, and used his momentum to throw him into 2 others. Her baton cracked down on another's helmet, sending sparks flying. Rain mixed with blood and oil on the steel floor. Krextal snarled, drawing a concealed blade. You were supposed to be a diplomat. Beatrice grinned, eyes wild. I am. Just a very disappointed one. Their blades met. Hers was a short, curved thing pulled from her sleeve, ceramic and silent. His was a ceremonial blade, more decorative than deadly. He realized too late. She disarmed him in 3 strikes, kicked him square in the gut, and sent him sprawling across the platform. Kevin hovered beside her, damaged but loyal. Well, that went about as badly as I expected. Beatrice crouched beside the Overlord, blade at his throat. Call off your dogs, or I swear to Sinatra I'll make this rain sing. Krextal growled. You think this makes you strong? You are one woman. That's all I need to be. The standoff lingered. Troops hesitated. Weapons flickered as power returned. Beatrice didn't flinch. Kevin broadcasted her stance across their entire commnet. Now here's what's going to happen, she said calmly. You're going to release the diplomatic recordings you suppressed, acknowledge Earth's non-aggression stance, and stop trying to annex systems that don't belong to you. Or, she pressed the blade closer, or I stop being polite. One of the lieutenants stepped forward. She's bluffing. Kevin projected a screen in the air. Footage of Beatrice, classified Earth military records. Operations where she dismantled armed bases with a spoon, survived assassinations, even once disabled an alien war cruiser by boarding it with a surfboard and a magnetized wrench. The title on the feed, codename Baba Yaga. The silence was immediate. The troops lowered their weapons. Krextal's eyes widened in horror. That's a myth. Beatrice leaned in close. I am the myth. With a flick, she withdrew her blade, rose to her feet, and dusted off her coat, as if she hadn't just turned a diplomatic ambush into a lizard-flavored street fight. Kevin, we're leaving. You want to steal their ship? She paused, then looked at Krextal. Yeah, I think I'll take their ship. Consider it reparations. 10 minutes later, the Borthak dropship rose into the storm clouds, engines roaring. Inside, Beatrice lounged in the pilot seat, feet on the console, sipping reheated coffee. Kevin hovered near the co-pilot chair. So, that's going to start a war. Beatrice nodded. Probably. You ready for that? She looked out at the dark sky, eyes calm. I was born ready. Rain just gets me in the mood. Far below, the platform lay in chaos. Guards recovering, communications scrambling. Reports flying across the Galactic network. Above it all, a new story began to circulate. A human diplomat, a betrayal, a storm, and a name whispered across star systems with awe and fear. Baba Yaga had returned, and this time she brought the rain. The stolen Borthak warship cut through the stratosphere like a silver dagger, engines pulsing with stolen fire. Inside the cockpit, Beatrice Vostrikov leaned back in the pilot's chair, boots still propped up, sipping the worst cup of coffee this side of the Orion arm. The taste hadn't improved, but the satisfaction? Immaculate. She tapped the console with one hand, the other resting near her thigh holster. Her coat was damp, slightly torn from the earlier brawl, and smelled faintly of ozone and lizard sweat. Kevin, hovering beside her, had patched most of his circuits, though his voice still carried a slight static rasp. "You know," he said, "the Borthak military uses this model of ship for high-ranking officer transport and planetary sieges. You commandeered it with a distraction, a blade, and a questionable umbrella." Beatrice grinned without looking at him. "Did you just compliment me? I was more commenting on the alarming security standards of this empire." Their password was Dominance 123. She snorted. What were they going to use next? Reptile rulers? Bunch of amateurs. The ship's systems began recalibrating under Kevin's influence, blinking human-readable prompts over the alien script. As they sliced through orbit, Beatrice opened the comms array. Static, then a ping, encrypted frequency. She keyed in Earth's diplomatic backchannel code, half expecting it to be disconnected. Instead, a familiar voice crackled through. "Vostrikov? Is that you? What the hell did you do?" It was Darius Chong, Earth's senior intelligence liaison, and the only person allowed to call her by her full name without a black eye in return. "Hey, Darius," she said casually. "Remember when I said the Borthak might try something stupid? Try? You crippled a Borthak tactical unit, stole a warship, and went full John Wick on a peace platform. The Galactic Council is already drafting 3 resolutions just to try and explain what happened. Well, tell them to draft one more. This isn't just a botched negotiation. They planned this. That whole ambush? Not a rogue move. It was premeditated. Do you have proof?" "Working on it." Kevin beeped. "Actually, I just cracked their black box log. And oh boy, it's like a buffet of violations." Beatrice swiveled her chair, eyes sharpening. "Let's see it." Holographic screens flickered to life. Kevin projected the encrypted mission brief from the Borthak's military authority. "Capture the Earth Diplomat, stage your death as an accident, and use the broken treaty as justification for a pacification campaign against humanity. They were going to assassinate me, claim I violated the ceasefire, and roll straight into Earth space with full support," Beatrice muttered, jaw clenched. Darius hissed through the comm. "We suspected they were posturing. But this? You need to get back. The Council needs you alive." "I'm not done yet. They tried to snuff out the torch with rain. Now I'm going to light the whole powder keg." Beatrice. "Gotta go." She killed the transmission. Kevin didn't ask. He just redirected course to the nearest Borthak command relay station. As the warship re-entered subspace, Beatrice leaned forward, her tone dropping. "They think I'm just one woman." Kevin's voice was softer than usual. "You are." She smiled grimly. "And that's more than enough." They came out of subspace over the atmosphere of Kralt 9, a marshy backwater moon with a command relay hub that relayed military data, intercepted comms, and served as a strategic listening post for Borthak fleet operations. Normally, it was guarded by a full battalion. Today, however, the base commander, a stumpy, triple-chinned alien named Bielurtak, had cut the guard shifts short to binge old Earth TV reruns intercepted through pirate signals. Currently, he was on Season 5 of MacGyver, completely captivated by the concept of creating bombs with chewing gum and paper clips. He nearly choked on a marsh slug snack when the silhouette of a warship appeared unannounced above the compound. Inside the base, alarms howled. Defense turrets turned, powered up, then died immediately as Kevin hijacked their network in under 4 seconds. The ship landed with flair. The ramp extended. Out walked one soaked, furious, coffee-charged human. Bielurtak gurgled orders, panicking. "That's her. The Rain Witch. She's not supposed to be real." Beatrice didn't run. She walked. Slow. Purposeful. Every step clanked on the metal platform like a drumbeat of doom. Bielurtak's security fired. Plasma bolts screamed past her. She didn't blink. She dropped to a knee, snapped open her wrist holoprojector, and unleashed a blinding pulse that scrambled Borthak optic sensors. She was in the middle of them before they knew she moved. A soldier lunged. She ducked, elbowed him in the gut, and kicked his knee sideways. Another tried to tase her with a shock prod. She caught it, used the momentum to flip him, and delivered a boot to his head with a satisfying crunch. Kevin provided running commentary. 13 hostiles remaining. 12. 11. Wow, that one hit the wall like a broken Roomba. Beatrice kicked open the main door, stormed inside. Alarms wailed. Data centers blinked in protest. She reached the core, planted a device, and linked Kevin directly. Give me everything. I want their fleet orders, planetary invasion plans, their Spotify history. Hell, even their dumbest memes. Kevin hacked in with glee. Oh, they're gonna wish they studied encryption harder. Minutes later, she stood in the comms chamber, drenched victorious, while Kevin broadcasted the full Borthak strategic archives to a dozen neutral systems, the Earth Council, and, accidentally but amusingly, the Galactic Entertainment Network Starfeed. Within minutes, the galaxy started watching. One system tuned in expecting a cooking show and got footage of Beatrice kicking in skulls. On board a leisure cruise in the Helix Nebula, guests dropped their cocktails when a screen overhead lit up with the title, Rain, Which Strikes Again. Watch the Diplomat dismantle an empire with her bare hands. Back on Earth, memes exploded. Baba Yaga again. Beware the rain. Don't mess with Earth women. Beatrice didn't wait to bask in it. She left the base in flames behind her and punched the coordinates for deep space. The next relay station would be better defended. But she wasn't done. Not by a long shot. As the warship returned to subspace, Kevin's tone shifted. You're trending on 12 systems. She leaned back again, fingers flexing. And they're calling you a folk hero. Resistance cells are picking up the footage and turning it into recruitment propaganda. You're basically the Galactic Chewbacca with better hair. Beatrice raised an eyebrow. I've always had good hair. Warproof shampoo. Also minor detail. The Borthak just declared you a level crimson threat. Highest tier. They say your continued existence endangers interstellar peace. Peace. Beatrice scoffed. Funny word for what they've been doing. Kevin hesitated. You realize what this means, right? This isn't about just you anymore. They're going to retaliate. She turned to the viewport. Stars blurred as they leapt forward. She didn't blink. Let them. I didn't start this. But I'll finish it. Behind them, Kralt 9's main relay tower imploded. Sparks and data streamed into the void. Far ahead, the Borthak Empire reeled from a ripple effect they hadn't anticipated. One woman, one blade, one broadcast, and the whisper on every planet, from prison colonies to bureaucratic centers, was the same. She's just one woman, right? The answer echoed with unease. Maybe. But she was the wrong woman to cross. And she was only getting started. Across the Borthak Dominion, chaos bloomed like an exotic disease, unwelcome, infectious, and terribly inconvenient for those in charge. From the polished halls of the Empire's High War Council to the gritty streets of Outer Rim outposts, the name Beatrice Vostrikov had become unavoidable. One woman, a rogue diplomat, a lightning bolt in a bottle of gasoline. She wasn't just alive, she was live-streamed. She wasn't just dangerous, she was trending. And worst of all, the Empire couldn't kill the footage. In the high citadel of Zorlok Prime, Emperor Threx Malcor sat slumped in his obsidian throne, scales twitching with suppressed rage. He watched the recording again, and again, and again. The same scene. A drenched human woman with a chipped blade and a half-smirk reducing one of his prized relay stations to rubble. Then walking off like it was just a Tuesday. Pause, Threx growled. The hollow froze on Beatrice mid-stride, wind whipping her coat, eyes blazing with unholy glee. She smirked, he hissed. That's a smirk of disrespect. One of his aides, a trembling, pencil-thin creature named Zert, nodded so violently his translator implant sputtered. Yes, your exalted ruthlessness. I believe humans refer to that expression as boss mode. Unacceptable. Threx rose, talons clinking on the polished floor. He stormed toward the tactical board, where high-ranking strategists had gathered to pretend they had a plan. She's just one human, hissed General Vurik, tapping his claw on a map. A singular outlier. Fluke. She has destroyed 2 military outposts, revealed classified war plans, and hijacked our elite transport without assistance, Threx snapped. If she's a fluke, what does that make you? Vurik wilted. A learning experience? Threx didn't answer. Instead, he turned to the screen where, embarrassingly, someone had looped Beatrice's now iconic line. "You done messed up now, lizards." The council chamber echoed with her voice. Every loop was a slap in the face. The Emperor spun on his heel. "Issue the bounty." Zert blinked. "Bounty, your ferocity?" "Yes. Galactic-wide. Crimson tier. I want mercenaries, bounty hunters, warlords, freelance exterminators, washed-up reality stars. Anyone with a weapon and a grudge. Dead or alive." A strategist cleared his throat. "Preferably alive." Threx growled. "Preferably humiliated." The bounty went out. And the hunters came. In the Kepler drift, at a seedy cantina orbiting a dead moon, the call flashed across 100 bounty boards. Beatrice's face, half-shadowed, rain-drenched, eternal scowl. Target, Beatrice Vostrikov. Human. Dangerous. Do not engage without extreme caution. Reward. 500,000 credit units, plus one system of your choice. A six-eyed mercenary laughed, so hard he spilled his synthale. That's the Rain Witch? She looks like she couldn't punch through wet cardboard." The bartender, a grizzled Zarn veteran with one tusk, poured him another drink. That's what Krextal thought too, before she made him eat his own claws. The laughter stopped. Meanwhile, aboard the stolen Borthak cruiser, Beatrice stretched her arms over her head, arching her back with a satisfying crack. Kevin was doing his usual routine, eavesdropping on Galactic channels, refining surveillance, and passive-aggressively reorganizing the ship's interface to look more like Earth's old-school operating systems. "I replaced the ship's security AI with Clippy," he said. Beatrice stared. "Clippy." "The ancient Earth assistant who asked if you were writing a letter. He now offers unsolicited suggestions on every course correction." A pause. "I respect that," she said. The ship had become something of a floating fortress now. Kevin had weaponized nearly every surface, turned the walls into reactive shielding, and programmed the scent diffusers to emit fresh coffee vapor during red alerts. Morale was important, but it wasn't long before the first bounty hunters found her. 3 jump cruisers dropped out of subspace, their hulls bristling with weapons. A grim coalition of mercs who had smelled blood in the stars. They didn't bother to communicate first, just open fire. Beatrice's ship rocked violently as bolts slammed into the shields. Kevin shouted, 3 ships. All lightly armored, but packing serious punch. Think Mad Max in space. Got it. She sprinted to the weapons console, eyes scanning the readout. The ship's systems were fast, but the bounty hunters were faster. Beatrice didn't panic. She grinned. Let's play dirty. She jettisoned decoy pods, each filled with hacked Borthak war propaganda and microwave ovens modified to emit confusing heat signatures. 2 enemy missiles locked onto them, spiraled, and detonated mid-space. The 3rd ship tried to flank her. She let them get close. Closer. Then she hit them with the hull-mounted EMP mines, detonated at point-blank range. The ship flickered and died, tumbling like a toy. 1 down. The 2nd ship began broadcasting in multiple languages, offering Beatrice a deal, credits, safety, even honorary lizard citizenship. She responded by launching their own comms satellite back at them, its boosters reversed, and then triggered its self-destruct once it collided with their bow. 2 down. The 3rd ship was smarter, kept its distance, sniping from afar. Kevin, Beatrice said, make this dramatic. Kevin rerouted all power to the forward thrusters and launched the cruiser at them at full speed. The bounty hunters didn't expect a warship to charge. They panicked, fired wildly. Beatrice evaded with inches to spare and unleashed the cruiser's hidden magnetic field. Their ship's electronics went haywire. Systems fried. They spun out of control. All 3 destroyed. Kevin whistled. You're going to make it impossible for me to top that. Beatrice wiped her forehead and leaned against the console. They'll keep coming. They always do. She turned toward the navigation hollow. Then we keep moving. Back on Zorlok Prime, the Emperor watched the footage with veins bulging. 3 ships. Elite mercs. Gone. Zert offered a tentative suggestion. Perhaps we bribe her? Threx snarled. She destroyed half a fleet with a warship and a sarcasm problem. But public opinion is shifting. Citizens are watching her. Some are cheering. Cheering. Yes. There are fan shirts now, with slogans. Rain which rides, Baba Yaga approves, Vostrikov 2025, make empires cry again. Threk screamed. Somewhere deep in the bowels of the capital, a bureaucrat wet themselves. The emperor spun toward the council. No more mercenaries. No more tricks. Assembled the death guard. I want her erased. But the death guard hasn't deployed in. I said erased. Beatrice, meanwhile, landed on a derelict moon called Vextar 7. Not for a mission. For information. The last known site of a Borthak intelligence relay that hadn't been shut down yet. She needed data. Evidence. A final nail in the coffin of their war campaign. The moon was silent. Dead. But the relay station's core still hummed with life. Inside, old logs flickered. She pulled them up. Dozens of reports from Borthak field agents detailing plans to destabilize not just Earth, but dozens of fringe civilizations, all disguised under diplomatic outreach. The Empire was never interested in peace. Just obedience. She downloaded everything. Kevin watched quietly. You're building a case. Not just rebellion, condemnation. Exactly. Good. Because they're sending the death guard. Beatrice didn't flinch. Then we give the galaxy a front row seat. Kevin's voice lowered. You sure you want to be a legend? She met his lens squarely. No. I want to end the Empire. Above them, storm clouds gathered again. Rain would fall. And when it did, the galaxy would learn once more what it meant to cross the woman they now called Baba Yaga. The storm broke over Zorlok Prime like a prophecy fulfilled. Rain crashed down in thick, hammering sheets, turning the sky into a shifting veil of water and smoke. The black towers of the Empire's capital, once symbols of fear and dominance, now looked like tombstones waiting for their names to be chiseled in. Thunder cracked, lightning split the sky, and still the clouds came heavier, as if the heavens themselves had taken a deep breath and chosen violence. Inside the Grand Hall of Sovereignty, panic reigned. High Emperor Threx Malcor paced before his trembling council, tail lashing, eyes blood-bright with fury. His claws scraped long gashes in the obsidian tiles as aides delivered one grim report after another. The Death Guard had been mobilized. The spaceports locked down. Orbital cannons armed. And still, there was no word of the rain, which being stopped. She's one woman. Threx roared. Why is she not dead? Because, a new voice said, smooth and cold as a vibroblade. You taught her everything she needed to destroy you. The doors blew inward with a concussive blast, and in walked Beatrice Vostrikov. No army at her back. No diplomatic escort. Just a woman in a rain-slick coat, boots caked in mud from a dozen dead worlds, eyes gleaming with fire that refused to be put out. 2 death guards lunged. She moved like a storm given bones. The first went down with a snap of her baton across his knee joint, the second, with a blade flicked from her wrist into his throat. They collapsed in tandem, metal and flesh crumpling before the unstoppable. Beatrice stepped over the bodies. Emperor Threx, she said, voice calm and cutting. Your rain check just came due. He hissed and drew his ceremonial war staff, more ornament than weapon, but still deadly in the hands of someone desperate. His guard circled, but hesitated. None of them had forgotten what happened at Kralt 9, or the relay station on Vextar 7, or the cruiser ambush. The rain, which had become something more than a woman. She was myth-stitched into muscle and madness. Threx bared his fangs. I will peel your skin and hang it from the Tower of Silence. Beatrice smirked. You'll need better nails. He charged. She sidestepped, grabbed his arm, and flipped him over her hip like he weighed nothing. He slammed into the floor with a growl of pain. She dropped to one knee, blade pressed his throat. Let me make something very clear, she said, leaning close. I came here to end a war you started before you even said hello. Earth will burn, he spat. You cannot stop the Dominion. I already did. Kevin hovered beside her, glowing brightly. Broadcast live, by the way. Every screen on Zorlok Prime, every terminal in the outer systems, tuned in. The High Council turned pale. Screens around the chamber lit up with live footage. Across the empire, citizens watched their ruler held down by the very woman he branded a threat to galactic stability. Beatrice stood slowly, never breaking eye contact. You broke the ceasefire. You manipulated treaties. You tried to assassinate a diplomat on neutral ground. I have all of it, your orders, your voice prints, even your little war memoir drafts. Threx struggled, breath hissing. You think exposing me will matter? It's not just exposure. It's closure. The empire dies tonight. And tomorrow maybe something better grows from the ashes. He lunged again, talons out. She moved with no hesitation, caught his wrist, twisted, disarmed him, and drove the hilt of her blade into his chest. Not enough to kill, just enough to make him stop. Behind her, the great glass window overlooking the city cracked as the thunder shook it. Beyond, the people of Zorlok Prime gathered in the streets. Some held signs, some held weapons. Many held nothing but breath and hope. Beatrice turned to the council. I'm not here to rule. I don't want your throne, your crown, or your damn propaganda. I want your surrender. Silence. Then, slowly, one counselor dropped their head. Another stepped forward and activated a console. A transmission began. All channels. All frequencies. This is Counselor Droven. Effective immediately. The war declaration against Earth is rescinded. The Emperor is removed from power. The Dominion surrenders. The chamber didn't cheer. It simply exhaled. Centuries of conquest erased in a breath. Beatrice turned and walked to the window as the rain continued to fall. She watched the crowds below erupt in something close to joy, confusion, disbelief, raw emotion crashing over them like the storm itself. Kevin hovered beside her in silence. Finally he spoke. So, what now? They'll want you to stay. Lead. Be the face of this whole thing. She shook her head. I'm not a ruler. I'm a reminder. She stepped onto the ledge. You're going to jump, aren't you? Kevin asked. She winked. It's raining. And she jumped. Outside, the wind tore at her coat as she fell. 30 stories down, a dropship uncloaked and caught her mid-descent with smooth, practiced grace. Kevin zipped into the cabin after her, systems blaring. You're getting dramatic with your exits. Gotta give the people a show. He chuckled. So where are we headed now? Beatrice looked to the stars through the cabin's glass. The storm clouds thinned, revealing distant lights, blinking like galaxies, winking in admiration. There are other empires, she said. Other tyrants. Maybe not as loud. Maybe smarter. But just as dangerous. Kevin processed this. You planning to storm them all? No, she said. Just the ones who think humans are easy prey. The dropship veered upward toward the stars. Behind them, the empire collapsed, its soldiers laying down arms, its people unshackled, its stories rewritten. But ahead, new legends waited to be carved. And somewhere in those legends, whispered under breath or sung through rebellion songs, was a single truth. The rain which cometh, and hell rides with her.